Welcome to Behind the Mic with AudioFile magazine, where the subjects are audiobooks and the actors who narrate them. I'm Jo Reed, and with me is contributor to AudioFile, Leslie Fine. Hello, Leslie.
Hi, Jo. How are you?
I'm really good, thank you. It's beautiful weather, so I'm happy.
I agree. The weather makes all the difference.
So you're talking about 3 books today. Do they have a theme?
They do. These three titles, they're all works of fiction and they all contain family secrets.
Aha. So tell me the 3 you're discussing.
The first one is called Same as It Ever Was by Claire Lombardo, and it's read by Emily Rankin. The second title is What Kind of Paradise, written by Janelle Brown and read by Peter Ganim and Helen Laser. And then the third is Broken Country by Clare Leslie Hall, read by Hattie Morahan.
Okay, you have quite a lineup there, so let's begin with Same as It Ever Was, of course, the famous lyric from Talking Heads, Once in a Lifetime.
Yes. I think of this book as a character study. You get to know the main character, Julia, so well over the course of this book. You get to know her secrets from her past. You get to watch her kind of go through things that she keeps secret. And Emily Rankin just does an excellent job of making her believable, kind of encouraging. I feel like I was encouraged as a listener to be patient with Julia sometimes because often there were moments where I'm like, "Oh, I understand where you're coming from there, Julia," thanks to the way Emily Rankin performed her voice. And then other times it's like, oh, typical like human relationships. You have that compatibility, and then the times where you're like, I can't understand why you do what you do. And I feel like that made the audiobook completely engrossing, at least to me.
So are we dealing with multiple time periods in this book?
We are
Uh-huh.
many, many
Okay.
flashbacks all over Julia's life. We see her as a young woman. We see her struggles as a child, growing up with a difficult mom herself. And then we see her as a mom with her two children. And we even see her, present day. She's older. Her son is preparing to get married. So it jumps around a great deal. But I feel like thanks to Rankin's performance, you don't get lost. You definitely know where you are at all times, and you're kind of content to be wherever you end up because it's really an interesting story.
I think especially with a premise like that, the way you're describing this, to have it be lucid depends so much on the narrator and her ability to really control this and have an intelligent read of it.
Definitely. Absolutely. Because it really is like you'll tumble into a different time period and you're just along for the ride. And it's not a matter of, wait, what? What just happened? There's something in the, not just her delivery, but the way she paces everything that makes every switch and leap and flashback really easy to follow.
Well, why don't we hear a little bit of her narration? Do you need to set this up?
This is a scene in a grocery store where she meets up with someone from her past and has like a moment, where she's like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I see her." And at the same time you have that burst of action, but then you also get a sense of how detail oriented the story is, how Julia's thoughts kind of meander through, different avenues even as she's in a moment. So this is a great clip to kind of get a sense of how this whole audiobook comes together.
All right, this is Same as It Ever Was by Claire Lombardo, read by Emily Rankin.
Julia doesn't recognize her at first. She doesn't consciously notice her, in fact, nor does she stop. She's headed industriously past the organic produce to seafood, contemplating a drive-by to dry goods to see if they have anything interesting in stock. Sometimes the stores in the farther out suburbs have a more robust inventory. She's considering taking a spin around the whole store, checking out what else they have that hasn't been subject to the frenzied consumption of the usual suspects at her usual grocery, when it hits her. The woman's face registers in her brain belatedly, clad in the convincing disguise, that invisible blanket, of age. Hers has not been a life lived under the threat of too many ghosts. There's only a small handful of people whom she has truly hoped to never encounter again, and Helen Russo happens to be one of them.
I really like this writing and its observational sense, and I like Emily's narration. I mean, the everydayness of life that suddenly shifts, and I think Emily expresses that perfectly.
I feel like that happens so often over the
Oh,
course
yeah.
of the audiobook. It's really
Oh, I was
interesting.
thinking of my life.
In life as in audiobooks and vice versa. Absolutely, it's so true, and I guess I feel like this word gets overused, but in this case, it's really true. It's relatable. There are so many moments where, that Julia is experiencing something and the way she responds, it's like, "Oh my gosh, I thought I would be the only person to respond in that way." It's really, it's a very human story. I enjoyed it.
And especially how people age and how age changes people. I was at a funeral this week and people I hadn't seen in 15 years, and, I had this mo is that him? I mean, age changes people.
Absolutely, in so many ways, and then in other ways, people don't change at all. So it's
Exactly.
such a complex game, this whole thing of being human, And I feel like this audiobook definitely addresses that.
Okay, and next is What Kind of Paradise? Now that's by Janelle Brown and read by Peter Gammon and Helen Laser, so tell me about this one.
Well, all of these, I have to say, I couldn't bear to turn any of these 3 off. I think because of the secrets involved, but this one,
Wow.
my mind got so engrossed in the message behind this, and I just was really taken with this audiobook for sure. So, I'll say that Helen Laser is kind of the grounding force. She is focused on our protagonist, who's called Jane, and Jane lives off the grid with her dad. He homeschools her, and they live in the wilderness, and so they have their tiny little family. And she at the beginning, I'm not going to give anything away here. No, at the beginning, she's completely, she loves her life. It's the only life
Yeah.
she's ever known, and she, completely looks up to her father, reveres anything he says. She follows along, but then she gets exposed to a secret, and one thing leads to another, leads to another. So what I really loved about this audiobook, and you'll be able to hear a little with the clip, I feel like I hear the voice change as Jane kind of moves away from her dad's control. Like she's less of an innocent, very naive about her life and very isolated from the larger culture. Her voice kind of gains this almost an edge, this experience as she's kind of thrust out into the world. And I found that fascinating. I found it that I mean, it's not giving too much away to say that her father is very resistant to technology. He's resistant to, anything that, he feels is corrupting the purity of the human mind. And on one hand, you'll say, "Oh, I see where he's coming from." And then on the other hand, it's like, "Whoa, okay. Yeah, dial it back, man." Yeah, and especially when Peter Ganim, he comes in and in the forms of
Well, you're crazy,
yeah, I
right?
right? The whole way through, I'm like, "Where's this other narrator?" I kept looking back. I'm like, "What?" Well, Jane's dad, there are letters, and so the letters are where he really shines. Peter Ganem does this amazing job with keeping it in your mind, like, "Wow,
Ah,
this guy's really wonderful, and he's devoted to his daughter," but then there's that edge to him, like, "Wait a minute, this isn't, on the one hand, I see where he's coming from, but no, man, you don't do things like this." So, I feel like he does a great job of building a character, he really performs it in such a great way that you can't stop listening. You wanna know, "How did you come to be like this?" "Why did you make the choices you made?" And the whole time, it's a thrill ride. I found it to be just fascinating.
wow. Okay, and who will we hear from in the excerpt that you have?
we're starting in present day, and then our character, Jane, flashes back. So this is kind of her giving us a preface to the story we're about to hear.
All right. What Kind of Paradise by Janelle Brown, read by Helen Laser and Peter Gammon. We will hear from Helen in this clip.
I didn't get many solicitors out where we lived, in the winding woodlands of Marin, but people sometimes made their way to me anyway. Neighbor kids selling raffle tickets, a particularly persistent Environment California fundraiser, real estate agents wondering if I was willing to list my covetable acreage. I ignored the strangers, answered the door when it was children, hid in the back when it was a man. So why did I answer this particular knock? Why did I drift toward the entry, the cereal spoon from my breakfast still in my hand, impulsively compelled to open the door? Probably I had felt the global temperature shift, despite my attempts to disregard it. Once you're aware of something's existence, you can't will it back into oblivion, no matter how hard you try. Or maybe some long-buried voice from deep inside me had sent up a smoke signal. It's time.
Helen has such an incredible range. And from what you said in this book, she actually can use that entire range.
Yes, I really felt that. And it was funny, as I was listening, I thought, what is it about this performance that I find so just engaging?
Yeah.
And I really feel like that was part of it. I don't know if it was conscious on her part. I don't know if I'm kind of projecting it from my imagination, but I really felt like I was watching her character grow up, which is really, ostensibly what happens over the course of, not a very long period of time, but you see her change. And I thought that voice just did a great job of capturing that change.
Well, one reviewer wrote that if the Unabomber had a daughter, this could be her story.
Exactly. There are so many things like from the news during our lifetime that it's like, oh my gosh, this reminds me of so and so, or that reminds me of this,
Mm.
thing that actually happened, like the Unabomber. Most definitely. Yeah, it's pretty intense.
And finally, Broken Country by Clare Leslie Hall, read by Hattie Morahan. So tell us about this book.
So this is, again, we still have a number of secrets tucked away here, but we're in a different location. We're in this beautiful English farm nestled away in the countryside. Just imagine this wonderful pastoral scene, but there are so many secrets that are hidden. And I don't want to give anything away if I possibly can, but at the very beginning, we know that there has been a murder. And so this is another one of those time shifting audiobooks, but the sections are clearly labeled so you know what's happening when, but we know at the beginning there has been, this tragic crime committed, and we are sort of jumping back and forth in time to see how this took place.
Now, I had read a review of this, and just saying, a dog gets shot, and it's pretty pivotal to the plot, which put me off the book just because of who I am. But can you walk those of us who are sensitive to this kind of stuff through that
Oh,
without giving anything
absolutely, and I
away?
totally relate. I'm the same person. I admit I pulled this book off the shelf in my library, and I put it back because of that. It said, on the flyleaf, and I said, "Oh, no, that no, I'm not reading that." But then I just kept seeing this title popping up everywhere, and I thought, "Okay, there's gotta be something to this."
Yeah.
And yes, it's shocking. It happens early on in the audiobook, and it does sort of set the ball rolling with, some of the secrets. And it's this sudden moment. The dog attacks the farm animals. So he comes in and he's like, destroying this sheep farmers. He's got all of his lambs together, and the dog is just kind of taken out one lamb after another. And they had no choice. They had to do something to stop the carnage, and that's what happened. So it is horrifying.
Tell me about Hattie Morahan.
Oh my gosh. Her voice is so beautiful. I mean, and it was interesting. This was the third title. I listened to these three altogether, and I listened to the third one, and I thought I love how distinct each narrator is. And Hattie Morahan is her accent is just so lovely, and it's so steady and calm. And even when, horribly intense things are going on, there's just this beauty in how she's sort of walking her way through it. And she does a great job with dialogue. We have this little cast of characters in this small town and this small family, and she does a really good job of depicting each person, giving each person a personality that's believable. And yeah, I just found it to be, even through some of the really brutal parts, I found it to be a kind of a beautiful family story.
Well, I know her as an actress from television for she's Alice in the Bletchley Circle.
I'm not familiar with that. Just by coincidence, I was watching HBO's The Gilded Age just yesterday.
Oh,
And yes, and I'm just kind of watching as the credits are going by, and I'm like, "What? Wait wait, I know that name." And then of course I had to go search, and sure enough, like, there she is. So, yeah, I mean, she knows how to use her voice to, great effect. Just beautifully done.
well, why don't we hear a little of her voice?
Absolutely. So this is a section. So our main character's name is Beth. And in this moment, she's reflecting on the birth of her son, and also by extension, reflecting a little bit about how she came to live on this farm. She married into this farming family.
This is an excerpt from Broken Country, read by Hattie Morahan, and it's written by Clare Leslie Hall.
Bobby is born on the kitchen floor in the midst of a storm. All day the wind has been rattling the farmhouse windows so fiercely, at times I wondered if they might be blown in. In the final stages of pregnancy, my days were slow and I seemed to achieve so little. Some half-hearted tidying, the leisurely preparation of the family supper, chores which formerly took minutes could last for hours. When I first arrived at the farmhouse, a tired, unloved place that housed 3 diffident men, I was shocked by the state of it, the state of them. They needed me, all 3 of them. They just hadn't realized it.
Ugh, her voice is so beautiful, and she lulls you into the story. She's just drawing you in, and she has great inflection and pacing.
Yes, I completely agree. I couldn't stop, well, any of these books. I was completely riveted by each one for different reasons. But yes, her voice is just delightful. And as I say, the sections, at first it might look a little intimidating, like, wait, what's going on with all of these chapters and the dates and this and that? Totally easy to follow, thanks to the way she performs it.
Yeah, lovely. I mean, a great narrator with a great book is just an extraordinary combination.
I agree. I feel like I hit the jackpot with these three.
Yeah, I feel like you kinda did too. Leslie, thank you so much, and I'll talk to you next month.
That sounds great. Thank you.
Blackstone Publishing, sponsor of today's episode of Behind the Mic, is home to authors, narrators, readers, and listeners alike. Blackstone Publishing delivers powerful stories in print, audio, and digital. Come find your next great listen at blackstonepublishing.com. Behind the Mic is produced by Jessica Lockhart. Robin Whitten, Michelle Cobb, Stephen Cummings, Leslie Fine, Alan Minskoff, Alex Ritchie, Laura Rossi, and Kendra Winchester are our contributors. Jennifer Dow and Coco McCracken are our editors, and the music is William Ross Chernoff's Nomads 4-Way. And I'm your host, Jo Reed. Good listening.